Hi, it's Friday. Sorry this is so late. It's been a crazy week with tennis and then auditions and blah 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 blah. But I'm here to talk about chapters 20 through 22. Short notes and yes. Okay, so chapter 20 starts out with Gus's last good day. And so what happens is basically she didn't really do anything. She was a little tired, whatever. He calls her at night and he's like, can you come to the literal heart of Jesus around 8 p.m.? And she's like, oh, yeah. He's like, can you write a eulogy? And she's like, okay. And so she argues with her parents about it. And she's like, they're like, we need you. But she's like, Gus needs me. And they argue. And then she's like, oh my god, he wanted me to write a eulogy, okay? Like, we're at that point now. So she writes the eulogy, and then she goes there, and Isaac and Gus is there, and Gus explains that he wanted to attend his own funeral, and he thinks that he'll be attending as a ghost, but just in case, let's have this. And so Isaac gets up there and tells everyone how much he's, like, one of the most vainest and the pretentious kids he's ever met. But he talks about how if the scientists of the future show up at his house with robot eyes and they tell me to try them on, I will tell the scientists to screw off because I do not want to see a world without him. And then, like, everyone's really upset and Isaac was crying and I felt so bad because Isaac and Augustus, their relationship, you know they're friends, but you never really know how good friends they are until here, because Isaac only asked the people he honestly trusted to bring him a eulogy, and that was Hazel and Isaac. Isaac only asked. Augustus only asked the people that he really trusted to bring him a eulogy. That was Isaac and Hazel. And you really start to see how much of good friends they are, and I just, I love Isaac so much. He's, so good. And so then Hazel goes up and she tells how their epic love story, she wants it to die with them, and blah, blah, blah. And she starts crying, and she's just like, okay, how not to cry, how am I, okay, and I'm like, stop saying okay, stop, you're breaking my heart. And then she talks about how there are some infinities, and some infinities are bigger than others, and she goes, but Gus, my love, I cannot tell you how thankful I am for our little infinity. I wouldn't trade it for the world. You gave me forever within the numbered days, and I'm grateful. And, I just want to cry at this point because he's having his own funeral. That's what he's doing. He knows he's going, and he's having this, so he's preparing himself, and he's preparing everyone. And, Augustus, baby, no. So chapter 21 starts, and my notes literally just say, no. Because the first sentence, Augustus Waters died 8 days after his pre-funeral at the memorial in the ICU when the cancer, which was made of him, finally stopped his heart, which was also made of him. I don't want to talk about it. I'm upset. I just want to skip this whole chapter. I just want to stop reading the whole book. I don't want to do it. Ugh. Everyone's crying, and she is terrible. She is terrible. She calls Isaac, and it's really sad because when she gets off the phone with Isaac, she says, the only person I really wanted to talk to about Augustus Waters' death was Augustus Waters. And in that you realize how close they are and how they're a couple and they're best friends and they love each other so much, because even after he's gone, the only person she wants to go to is him. And it's so bad. It's so bad, you guys. So then she is really, really, really upset, and she calls his phone, and it went to voicemail, and she heard his voice, and it was bad. And so then she goes on his Facebook and sees all these things that people are posting and stuff, and she's like getting a little upset about this, and then she just, and she's so upset, and then her parents are like, can we do anything to help you? And she just goes out and lays with them because she's so upset. And that's chapter 21. That's it. Chapter 22 is Augustus's funeral. What happens is they get to the literal heart of Jesus Church, and she goes up to the coffin, and she decides that she wants to go without her oxygen tank. So she goes up and she says, I love you, present tense. It's okay, Gus. It's okay. It is. It's okay, you hear me? Okay. And then she leaves him a pack of cigarettes and says, you can light these. I won't mind. And she just loves him, and he's gone. I just, feelings, no. And they're just talking, and then the funeral's going on, and everyone's talking, and then all of a sudden, she hears Peter Van Houten behind her. He came. Great, 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 great. And she's kind of upset about it. And so Isaac goes up and performs his eulogy and tells a wonderful story about how Gus came to see him and goes, I have wonderful news. And Isaac goes, I don't really want to hear wonderful news right now. And Gus says, this is wonderful news you want to hear. And Isaac asks him, fine, what is it? And Gus says, you are going to live a good and long life filled with great and terrible moments that you cannot even imagine yet. And then it says, Isaac couldn't go on, or maybe that was all he had written. And they're best friends. They're best friends. And they both had cancer, and Isaac gets to live on, and Augustus can't, and I'm so upset. And so then, like, basketball people go up and whatever. Then Hazel goes up, and she just talks about encouragements and doesn't even say anything about, she talks about the without pain we couldn't know joy, and the pain demanding to be felt, and I just can't take it at this point. And so she didn't want to go to the burial because she just was tired and she didn't want to do this. And so she goes, and she didn't want to do it, and she didn't want to do all this stuff, and she didn't want to do any of it, but she did. And she just, she realizes that funerals are for the living, and they really are, because it's the living's last chance to kind of say goodbye and kind of see this person that they've lost and remember and be with a room full of people that know them and remember, and it's so sad. And so at the end, Peter Van Houten comes up and is like, can I have a ride back down to the bottom of the hill? And so he talks to her about how she found out, and then she's like, let me tell you the sequel of how this happened, of how, like, what happened afterwards. And she's like, you know what, I don't need this, you're pathetic, I don't need this, you aren't the person who I thought you were, you're not the person that did this for me, get out of my car. And so then she gets home and she doesn't want to do anything, and she's discussing how there's two kinds of adults. Peter Van Houten's miserable creatures who scoured the earth in search of something to hurt, and then there were people like my parents who walked around zombically, doing whatever they had to do to keep walking around. And that's a scary thing to realize growing up, thinking I'm either going to be a big asshole or a person just mindlessly doing things. That's the reality of that probably is true, though, and that's scary to think that that's your only option. And so then she doesn't really want to do that, and her dad comes and talks to her, and it's the best thing, because her dad is like, the whole 80% survival rate and he's in the 20%, he was such a bright kid, he hates it, but it was a privilege to love him. And she's just like, yeah. And he goes, gives you an idea about how I feel about you. And that really speaks to me, because, like, my dad and I aren't that close. My dad and I don't really talk that much, but I know he loves me through little things he does like that. And I'm so upset. Okay, alright, I'll see you guys next month, because this is my last video for September. Megan will be this weekend talking about the last few chapters, and then we have a new book, and Megan will announce that. I still need to get the new book, but Megan will be announcing it probably this week. We're very excited to continue this project. Thank you for watching. Sorry this was so late. Love you guys. DFTBA. Bye.